In 1986, Jala Mohammed Siad Barre was involved in a car accident that left him in a coma for over 30 days. He was subsequently hospitalized in Riyadh, the capital city of Saudi Arabia. Following the accident, his health deteriorated and his power weakened significantly, making it easier for rival clans and factions to challenge his authority in Villa Somalia. As a result, various political opposition groups emerged both inside and outside Somalia. On May 16, 1990, a group of prominent politicians and businessmen established a political party known as Manifesto. Following calls for Jala Mohammed Siad Barre to resign, prominent figures such as Mohammed Farah Aidid, Abdurrahman Tour, and Ahmed Umar Jas announced on November 2, 1990 in Mustahil, a part of the occupied territory of Somali Galbet, that they would take over control of the country and shape its future. In response, the opposition to Jala Mohammed Siad Barre consolidated into two fronts: Manifesto, established in Hamar, and Mujahid, which was planned in Mustahil. On December 30, 1991, government forces were overwhelmed and retreated into the public. Mohammed Siad Barre's control was limited to only parts of Villa Somalia and Radio Mogadishu. On January 7, 1991, Jala Mohammed Siad Barre created an organization called Sulh, consisting of 75 members selected from the citizens of Somalia, to serve as a peacekeeping force between him and the opposition forces. He also appointed Umar Atta as the Prime Minister of the Democratic Republic of Somalia. Sulh met with the opposition groups to discuss issues and solutions, but their desired objectives were met with failure and were rejected by the opposition, mainly General Mohammed Farah Aidid, who insisted Jala Mohammed Siad Barre leave the country before any agreements could be made.
ومحمد سياد iyo wixii fikradiisa u shaqeynaya oo la qaba baaba'aas iyo dhibaatadaas dalka u gaarsiiyey inay sii dheeraato baan la dirinaynaa. marka uu ilibka ka baxo Soomaaliya oo dhan baan isku biiray, waan isku imaanay, waan fashanaynaa, laakiin ma ogolin inaan wada hadallaan la yeelano isaga iyo cid ka socota innaba inaan la yeelano. horta war horaan goosanay mana ku tali jirno. marka idinku haddii ninkii baxay oo uu socday idinkoo ka mid ah naga mid ah oo aan isku mid nahay in Soomaalinimo iskaga mid nahay oo mas-uuliyad Mohammed Siad dhiibay aan wadin baan wada hadlaynaa Soomaaliya. markaasaa xabad joojin imaan kartaa annagoo xora oo dalkii xoreynay.
On January 26, 1991, Jala Mohammed Siad Barre left Villa Somalia. Within that same night, Manifesto and Mujahid Mustahil competed for control over Villa Somalia. Manifesto emerged as the winner and took control without being elected legally. It declared itself the sole power of Somalia. Before leaving Villa Somalia, Jala Mohammed Siad Barre had a conversation with the opposition groups on Radio Mogadishu, urging them to stop shelling the citizens of Somalia. On January 29, 1991, Manifesto declared that Ali Mahdi had been elected as the temporary president of Somalia. Without wasting any time, on February 1, 1991, Ali Mahdi implemented a form of government and once again appointed Umar Atta as the Prime Minister of Somalia.
oo inta xabadii lagu wareeriyay iyo boobki iyo wixii sii qaxayo gaashado la qaxayo oo jidka daadsan ma dhaba loo furo xabar laga baxa waxa daadsan dad masaakiin oo sii guuraya. waxa aan leenahay war dad kuuriyooda u daaya hareerine ka daaya xabadii qaylada iyo boobka iyo qulun waxa ka foosho ka daaya. dad islaamaati Soomaali baati sharaf iyo karaamad laan jirta wayna wada xoreeyay almiina waxoogaa dad iska xortay kulli xoreeyay.
In order to ensure justice and fairness in the newly established government, the leaders of USC opened a dialogue and held meetings at Hotel Tawfiq. However, Mohammed Farah Aidid once again rejected the development of the government and proposed the appointment of a temporary committee. He argued that a new government should not be established until two conditions were met. First, a meeting with all armed rebel groups such as SNM, SSDF, SPM, and secondly, the capture or exile of Jala Mohammed Siad Barre from the country. General Mohammed Farah Aidid stated that it would not be acceptable to build a government in Hamar while Chala Mohammed Siad Barre is still located in Gida, Somalia. Manifesto disagreed with his statement and decided to allow the government under Ali Mahdi to continue functioning. This short video will discuss the significant illegal activities and mistakes that took place following the removal of President Chala Mohammed Siad Barre. The conflict and destruction that ensued were the result of those who were responsible for these actions. Chala Mohammed Siad Barre left the country when the infrastructure was stable, all government offices were stocked, and all government documents were in government buildings. One of the biggest errors made was the decision to dissolve the national military. This move was implemented during the tenure of former Prime Minister Umar Atta, who resided in Saudi Arabia and had a talent for fostering relationships with Middle Eastern countries, particularly Saudi Arabia. It was noteworthy that both Chala Mohammed Siad Barre and Ali Mahdi elected Umar Atta as Prime Minister. It remains puzzling and unusual that an individual like Umar Atta was able to establish relationships with both sides that were at odds with each other and even overthrowing each other. The situation continues to be a mystery to this day. Umar Atta wasted no time in executing his plan, which he had likely been devising for some time. The day following his election, he made a treacherous speech that would go down in history as one of the most ominous ever heard in the nation. Speaking on Radio Mogadishu, he ordered all members of the armed forces to lay down their weapons, abandon their posts, and surrender themselves and all government weapons and ammunition to the armed rebels. Disbanding the armed forces, particularly the National Security Service (NSS), which served as the bedrock and safeguard of the nation and its citizens, would prove to be an enormous blunder. Umar Atta's speech rendered the armed forces powerless, making it fragile, and further weakened the unity of the nation. As a result of Umar Atta's speech, the weapons and military equipment of the armed forces fell into the hands of uneducated militias. The damage inflicted upon the nation and its armed forces by Umar Atta Ghalib is indescribable, and to this day there is no clear explanation for his actions and crimes. Some speculate that he was a spy for Ethiopia or other foreign countries, while others believe his goal was to fragment the country, allowing SNM to take advantage of the situation and secede. Notably, the majority of the armed forces, units, and military equipment were located up in the north, particularly the 62nd units. As the situation spiraled out of control and conflict erupted between Manifesta and Mustahil factions, the government of Djibouti initiated dialogue among the Somali people. During these discussions, it was agreed that Ali Mahdi would continue to serve as a temporary president for a period of 2 years. However, SSDF